In January of 2024, I was on a ship in Antarctic waters with a reporter from our organization documenting krill fishing boats. Giant super trawlers operating there supply krill that is made into products like omega-3 supplements and livestock and aquaculture feed. But these fishing boats are also highly controversial because they compete for krill with whales and other wildlife. A single trawler extracts as much krill as nearly 150 humpback whales consume in a single day. Additionally, several whale deaths have been reported over the past few years as they can be caught in the krill nets and drowned. The focus of our reporting was the use of krill as fish meal. This involves a process of reducing the krill into a powder or oil, which is then used in aquaculture to feed shrimp, salmon, and other types of farmed fish. So it came as a big surprise when we got a tip from someone in the aquaculture industry. A man named Joshua Farinella reached out to us online. He explained that he was an American who had recently taken a job at a major shrimp processing plant in India. He said he had encountered serious problems of possible forced labor and that these problems were known by the company's leadership. I immediately wrote back and set up a phone call with Mr. Farinella. You said you've been in this job for 3 months. Did you immediately upon arrival have worries?
We didn't know this at first, but this was not the first interaction we'd actually had with Mr. Farinella. He knew us from another recent investigation that we had done, which focused on forced labour on Chinese fishing ships. At that time, Mr. Farinella had been working at a big American company called Lund's Fisheries as a compliance officer, and he had been present during some intense conversations that we had had with the company's CEO and other senior management about how the company could be exposed to forced labour on Chinese fishing ships.
After several long conversations with Mr. Farinella, and after we vetted the veracity of his claims, we decided that we needed to get to India right away. And so if I could orchestrate a trip over to see you, I could probably visit you in the office and we could see what on facility grounds you and I can quietly walk around and look at.
Mr. Farinella told us that he would not be working at the plant much longer, but he promised to help us until he resigned. This definitely kicked things into a higher gear. Our first challenge was going to be getting out of Antarctica, because our ship wasn't scheduled to return to land for another 2 weeks. Luckily though, we weren't too far from an island that has the only airstrip in Antarctica that services commercial flights. We had some bad weather come in, and that pushed our departure back another day and required a bit of logistical ballet to avoid being dropped off on the island overnight, exposed to Antarctic conditions. But eventually we worked it out, and we were dropped off on the island at a Russian research base there. And a few hours later, we caught the next plane to Chile.
In our ongoing talks with Mr. Farinella, he told us that he had evidence that the owners had directed him to send shrimp that had tested positive for antibiotics to the US, where it is banned, and this claim made a trip to India all the more crucial. But there was a problem. India denied Ian's visa application. We later learned that Ian's prior work as an investigative reporter with the New York Times, and more recently, our coverage of human rights issues tied to the global seafood industry, specifically China, had most likely raised a red flag with Indian authorities, and they blocked his entry into the country. But luckily, Ben's visa was cleared, so he launched for India to get Mr. Farinella on the record.
About 36 hours later, I was touching down in Rajahmundry, India, and after a 2-hour car ride, I arrived in Amalapuram. The next day, I was able to sit down with Mr. Farinella in person, and we recorded his first interview on camera.
All right, we'll start with the real easy stuff here. So, first off, could you just tell me your full name, your current job title, and how long you've worked in the seafood industry?
So the plan the next day was that I would accompany Mr. Farinella to work that morning to the plant, and he would give me a tour of the facility, and I would record as much of it as I could. I was able to record footage of the laborers arriving at the front gate, of the plant security, which was extensive, and from what I could tell, migrant workers who live there on site. Next, he took me to what they call the off-site peeling shed, and this is a building that is basically a shed. It has cinder block walls, a metal roof, it's open air, there's no air conditioning or climate control, and inside were around 150 to 200 workers. While we were there, Mr. Farinella told me that this off-site peeling shed processes around 10,000 pounds of shrimp per day, which is then sent back over to the main plant and commingled with the product there.
Having one of our own people on the ground proved invaluable, as it provided us with footage that helped corroborate many of Mr. Farinella's claims of the plant's working and living conditions. But the documents he provided us, including over 6,000 company emails, 1,400 pages of WhatsApp conversations, invoices, security footage, and recorded Zoom meetings, offered an unusually detailed look into a plant that seemed to have a variety of problems. These documents seem to indicate substandard living and working conditions, conversations between managers about how to falsify records, and cases where antibiotic-positive shrimp may have been marked for shipment to the US, which is banned. To verify the authenticity of these documents, we sent a selection of the most relevant pieces to a private security firm specializing in data forensics that confirmed they had not been manipulated in any way. We then published many of the documents in their entirety on our website to help deepen readers' understanding of Mr. Farinella's claims. The company pushed back aggressively when we engaged them and denied what Mr. Farinella had said, but the documents proved important to avoid the story becoming merely he said, she said. The trove of records and Ben's reporting on site offered a rare window into a world rarely seen, and an insider's perspective on the broader Indian shrimp industry, which supplies over a third of the shrimp consumed in the US and much of that in Europe. Indeed, it was those very documents and that direct reporting that, in the immediate days after the story was published, were requested by Congress, the Food and Drug Administration, and Customs and Border officials.